Hey, good morning, everyone. It is 6 minutes past the hour of 9 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Yes, I'm not Chris Hand. And I'm telling you, that's something to aspire to be, but I'm not. I'm Brian Wilson, in for Chris. Chris is a little under the weather, so I'm filling in at the very last moment. But we're glad to have you here on the Chris Hand Show all the way until noon o'clock, and then Chad Benson will come in and take over as he always does. Want to start out this morning by talking about the situation with Iran, because the president of the United States, he's leaving Washington, going to the Coast Guard Academy to give a commencement address for a new graduating class there. And he talked about at Andrews Air Force Base, Joint Base Andrews. He was at right up there at the steps of Air Force One, about to get on. And as he often does, he stopped and talked to reporters, and he talked about what's going on with Iran. This is fresh stuff from the last hour. The President of the United States at Joint Base Andrews talking about Iran, saying, hey, listen, we're going to give it one more shot. I'm in no hurry here. I'll give it one more try. But ultimately, he's expecting certain things to happen. Here's the president.
So we're going to give this one shot. I'm in no hurry. You never think, oh, the midterms, I'm in a hurry. I'm in no hurry. Ideally, I'd like to see few people killed as opposed to a lot. We can do it either way, but I'd like to see few people killed. I just wonder whether or not they have the good of the people, because some of the things they're doing to me means they don't have the good of the people, and they have to have the good of the people. There's a lot of anger now in Iran because people are living so badly. There's a lot of foment that we haven't seen before so much, and we'll see what happens.
Has it taken longer than you expected it would to make a deal with Iran?
Well, let's put it this way. You were in Vietnam 19 years, right? You were in Afghanistan and these other places 10 years. You were in Iraq. How long were you in Iraq? 12 years? You were in Korea for 7 years. World War II is different. That was 4 years. I'm in for 3 months, and much of it's been ceasefire. And you know what? You lost hundreds of thousands of soldiers in these various wars. In 2 wars, Venezuela, where we lost nobody, and here, we lost 13 people. Now, 13 people is 13 too much, but we lost 13 people. In other wars, you lost hundreds of thousands of people. So people don't like it when you say, oh, do you know you've lost 13? We've lost in 2 major wars. We took over Venezuela. We essentially took over Iran. And we've lost so far 13 people. Somebody else would have lost 100,000 people. Okay? But I get a kick when I look at somebody on television. He's lost 13 people. I lost 13 people. They lost 13 people leaving an airport. Obama, 13 very good people that I got to know their families. So what we've done is amazing, and we have them decimated. Iran is decimated, and I mean, you're going to see things that are amazing.
Well, he's talking about, keep an eye on what's going on, but he's in no hurry, is what he says. I'm no hurry whatsoever. Well, look, I support this president in a big way with what he's doing in Iran. I know not everybody within the sound of my voice shares that, but I feel very strongly that that Trump has done a great job, and he has to do this. He really didn't have any choice. The situation was spiraling out of control. Iran was getting very close to having a nuclear weapon. We cannot allow that. And so everybody who has some kind of angst about what's going on with Iran, and all the Democrats who are upset about what's going on with Iran, I have just one statement. I said, well, how would you feel if Iran had started lobbing nuclear weapons in the direction of Israel? How would you? We now know, by the way, Iran, we didn't know this when we started it, but they have a missile that can now hit. They just unveiled it during the war. They can hit the capitals of Europe with that missile. So if they had a nuclear weapon, they marry it with that missile. Now the capitals of Europe are absolutely in danger if they get a nuclear weapon. And by the way, do you think they would stop there? No, the next step would be to develop an intercontinental ballistic missile with their help from the friends, the Chinese. And the next thing you know, then we would be under threat. Iran simply cannot have a nuclear weapon. He didn't really have a choice. And he says, look, and what are the Iranians doing? They're playing for time. They're playing for time. They're trying to push it back, because they know the closer that we get to the midterm elections, the more they can put pressure on the president. He's being very clear. Hey, we're not in any hurry here. I kind of wish we were in a hurry, but it's the right position to take, but it may cost him the midterms. So we'll have to see, whether he can wrap this thing up in a few days. It really comes down to who blinks first, and Trump is not one, I think, who will blink early. But, I was, said, look, we're going to have time. We can work this out. I think we're sort of getting to the point, this is my personal belief here, that we need to resolve this one way or the other, because I think we need, if we're going to have any chance at all in the midterm elections, we're going to have a period where there isn't chaos on the world scene, where things are quiet and gas prices can return to normal. The economy will, I still believe it, and I'll get into this in just a few moments. I still think our economy is in really, really good shape with regard to, how it will respond if we can just get the gas prices down. It's the one thing that seems to be causing a problem is gas prices. It's rippling through the economy. It's starting to have an impact. Right now, for example, I'm looking at the numbers. Tennessee, average for a gallon of gas is $4.21. Do you know that the highest it's ever been was back during COVID and when we had 9% inflation in the Biden years, and it was 468. So it's at 468 was the worst that it's ever been, and we're at 421. National average, by the way, for a gallon of gas is 455 this morning. West Texas Intermediate crude 102, Brent crude $108 a barrel. So the price is still up there. The price of gasoline is causing a problem. How long can we hold on before we have to actually come up with something? But the sooner he can get out of that, and the sooner that we can, get back to some relative, peace and prosperity, the better it's going to be for us in the midterm elections. I'm not panicked, but I'm getting a little uneasy about the timing on this. We need to resolve Iran. We need to move forward. So we're going to keep a close eye on all of that stuff. Let me run through some of the stories. Oh, by the way, yesterday, before he agreed to extend the ceasefire for a day, 2-3 days, he didn't say really how long he was going to extend it. But at the request of our allies who were still trying to see if a peace deal can be negotiated, he did pause it for a day, but he said that we are prepared. In fact, we were very close to engaging in Iran militarily.
We have to have a safe country. We have to have a great country. We have to make sure that Iran doesn't get a nuclear weapon. All of the things that you see me fighting for so hard. And it's always tough. We're negotiating with Iran, and then you have the Democrats, I call them the Democrats, putting in a bill that Trump should immediately stop. You know how it is to negotiate with a country where you're beating them badly? They come to the table, they're begging to make a deal, because they're begging to make a deal. I hope we don't have to do the one, but we may have to give them another big hit. We may have to give them another big hit.
That's right. I might have to give him. In fact, we were very close.
I was an hour away. We were all set to go. You're talking about yesterday.
Yes.
We were going to be striking it would have been happening right now. Yeah, it was all done. The boats, the ships are all loaded. They're loaded to the brim. And we were all set to start.
Yeah, he's ready. He's happy to start it again if they want to start it, but they're playing for time. They're not stupid. They're in disarray, but they're not stupid. And they know that the longer they can push this back, the closer and closer we get to the midterm elections, the more pressure there is on Trump to do a deal. So I think ultimately he's probably going to have to hit him one more time and put the pressure on. They don't want that. I think we're close to a deal. Let's get it across the goal line. Let's see if we can finish this thing up. It would be in our interest to wrap it up. One thing that I know is that Iran militarily has been obliterated. He uses the word decimated. It's not the right word. Decimated means you've taken out 10%. Deci, 10. But that's not what we've done. We've obliterated their military. We have bombed their military back to the Stone Ages. The question now is, do we have to bomb the rest of the country and take out the electrical grid and go after infrastructure to force them to end the war and open up the strait? Or is this thing going to percolate along for a lot longer? The Iranians, meanwhile, are mouthing off. Here's what you got to know about the Iranians. They will, you don't pay too much attention to what they say. You pay attention to what they do. Because they'll say things for internal consumption inside Iran. They're mortified and deeply embarrassed by what has happened and how easy it was for the United States to prevail militarily inside Iran and do the damage to the military they did in very short order. I mean, it's really quite amazing how. And so they're mortified and they're embarrassed by it. And so for internal consumption, they say a lot of tough sounding stuff. And really, it's sound and fury signifying not much. It's actually for internal consumption, not for us. But here's what they are saying. The Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard has threatened to push the war beyond the region if the U.S. or Israel resumes attacks, promising, quote unquote, crushing blows in places you cannot even imagine. The threat comes after President Trump said he'd been about an hour away from ordering new strikes, as you heard. Pakistan's interior minister visited Tehran Wednesday for the second time in a week. Part of what diplomatic sources told CBS News was a doubling of Pakistani efforts to broker a peace deal, as a return to fighting would be a total disaster for everyone. And Iran says that 26 vessels have transited the Strait of Hormuz over the last 24 hours. The vessels included oil tankers, container ships, other commercial vessels. So, whether that is true or not is hard to know. So the Iranians are making a lot of noise. We are prepared and have had time to resupply, but they've had time to reorganize as well. And so they're making a lot of noise. Can they back it up? I don't know. Meanwhile, as you heard, the Senate has advanced a measure to withdraw U.S. involvement in the Iran conflict. Yes, they took a vote with regard to the War Powers Act. The War Powers Act, I think, is unconstitutional. So let's go ahead and test that one out. But one way or the other, the word I'm hearing is, even though it has advanced in the Senate, it will not prevail in the Senate. And at the end of the day, I think John Thune will be able to shut this down pretty effectively. It is now 20 minutes past the hour of 9 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Brian Wilson in for Chris Hand on The Chris Hand Show.
This feels futuristic, and spoiler alert, it actually works.
The acting U.S. Attorney General getting grilled by Senate Democrats. We'll let you know what that was all about. Also, a new Tennessee lawsuit over enforcement of immigration. We'll have all that coming up at 9:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right. Thank you very much, Jay Harper, and for Joan Jones. Good to have you on board today. I am Brian Wilson, filling in for Chris Hand on the Chris Hand Show. Chris is a little under the weather. I anticipate he'll be back tomorrow, but I'm here all the way until noon today. I'm talking a little bit about the economy, and yes, I am concerned about high gas prices and the inflation that brings and how difficult it is for some people. But there are signs out there, if you look, that perhaps the economy is, despite all of the things that the war has brought to our economy, it does seem as if we are doing a little better in that regard. Listen to a couple of stories that I found today that indicate that perhaps the economy is not as in bad a shape as we think it is. Target beat Wall Street estimates and hikes their sales outlook as shoppers start to return. This is from CNBC. Target on Wednesday posted earnings and revenue that beat Wall Street expectations and report, listen to this, that net sales grew more than 6% year over year as the retailer tries to win back customers amid slumping sales. Same-store sales jumped 5.6%, its first positive same-store sales number in 5 quarters. And their outlook projections are very positive. As reported in the first quarter beats, Target also hiked its full-year revenue outlook. The retailer says it expects net sales to grow, its net sales growth of 4% compared to 2025, where they saw an overall increase of 2%. So it is. Now, look, you say, well, okay, that's Target. Maybe Target made some good decisions. Well, that may be true one way or the other. What you need to understand is Target is one of those bellwether stocks. When Target is doing well, when Caterpillar is doing well, when certain stocks do well, it tends to lend credence to the fact that the economy is doing better than you might imagine. So Target, here's another one. This one is a bellwether stock for sure, and definitely this is good news. Lowe's beats Wall Street expectations against a challenging housing backdrop. Revenue jumped about 10% to the previous year. Comparable sales increased 0.6% for the quarter, driven by what Lowe's says was a spring execution and a 15.5% growth in online sales. Wow, that's 10% overall sales and an increase of 15.5. If you're running a company and you get those kind of numbers, you're pretty pleased. That's good news. And again, this is one of those bellwether stocks. People go to Lowe's when they feel better about their economic situation. So even against the fact that we have higher gas prices and that's having an impact, even though people are still going to Lowe's and spending money in this economy, and that's an indication that perhaps the economy is better than and people's expectations about the economy and where they are economically are not all that bad. You see, yes, gas prices have gone up, so have wages to some degree. Look, if you're within the sound of my voice and you're yelling at the radio right now saying, Wilson, gas prices, you know, it's really out of control. It's really hurting me. I hear you. And the thing I would say is I don't think it's going to be that much longer. But the other thing I would say is overall, I think the economy is in a lot stronger shape than perhaps many people understand or perceive at this particular time. It is time for the news with Jay Harper at 9:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It is indeed 9:30, and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We'll get you a weather forecast here in a moment. Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche defended an IRS settlement that gives President Trump's Justice Department a $1.8 billion trust. The settlement says the money will be overseen by a Trump-appointed panel and provided to parties that claim to be victims of the previous administration. Blanche, he was grilled by Senate Democrats yesterday. ABC's Lionel Moyes has more.
Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche is promising transparency, while Democrats claim it will be a slush fund for Trump allies. The fund stems from Trump's settlement with the IRS over leaking his tax returns, and now that settlement is being expanded. The Justice Department now declaring the IRS will be forever barred and precluded from prosecuting or pursuing pending tax claims against President Trump, his family, and their companies.
Back here in Tennessee, a new lawsuit filed in the Davidson County Chancery Court accuses the Tennessee Highway Patrol of using traffic stops as a tool for immigration enforcement during operations here in Nashville as well as Memphis. News 2's Kelly Milan has more.
Plaintiffs claim the Tennessee Highway Patrol worked in tandem with ICE agents using traffic stops to help detain people suspected of immigration violations. The lawsuit points to operations including Flood the Zone in Nashville. The lawsuit claims the operations amounted to racial profiling. The complaint challenges THP's public statements that troopers, quote, did not enter neighborhoods or stop vehicles based on race or ethnicity, arguing the numbers tell a different story. The filing states, quote, only deliberate racial profiling can explain the rate at which troopers stopped racial minorities.
According to the 45-page complaint, Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents allegedly rode inside THP vehicles, followed behind troopers, or waited nearby during traffic stops. That is the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis from Super Talk 99.7 WTN and Nashville's Morning News. I'm here with Chris from USS, United Structural Systems. He's checking out my basement, my foundation, my crawl space to see if there's anything wrong. Fingers crossed. All right, so there's good news and there's bad news. The bad news is we found some cracks in my basement wall. The good news, I've got Chris here who's going to walk me through the next steps.
Yes, so unfortunately, your house has been subject to the pressure of the dirt. The hydrostatic pressure, heavy dirt pushes on foundation walls, and you've got a little bit of what we call bowing. So that wall is pushed in a little bit. We have a lifetime warranty solution for that. So we install, usually in a day or two, this can be done in most situations. We install carbon fiber straps, which keep the wall from moving inward at any point in the future. It's a lifetime warranty for anybody that ever owns this house. So it's a quick and routine thing that we do, but it yields some long-lasting benefits.
It's a great selling point if you want to sell your house.
Absolutely. Good thing about our warranties is they're not only transferable, like the contract says, they're automatically transferred when you sell your house. So you don't have to sign any paperwork or even send us an email saying that you sold your house. Warranty would transfer to the next owner.
It's 37 minutes past the hour of 9 o'clock. Good morning, everybody. You're listening to Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Chris Hand is off today, feeling a little under the weather. I am his last minute but enthusiastic fill-in here today. I'll be with you all the way till noon o'clock when Chad Benson takes over. We got Jay Harper in the newsroom. Joan Jones, I think, back tomorrow. Grandma Jones, she'll be back after visiting her grandchild. And Ken Weaver will be in just a bit. So here we go. I want to talk about some news here in Middle Tennessee that I think is interesting, and in Nashville particularly. This is, congratulations to the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation for a major drug bust. We don't give enough credit when these things happen. These are huge things. It's good police work when it happens, and when you can stop the flow of drugs, you are having a tremendously positive impact on our community. So listen to this. 1,500 pounds of methamphetamine. Well, how much damage could that do? From Mexico, intercepted in Tennessee. Dixon, Tennessee, from WSMV's website, the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation arrested 4 people this month after agents intercepted more than 1,500 pounds of methamphetamines being transported from Mexico in a semi-truck trailer. The TBI reports the agents identified and searched the semi-truck with Texas plates on May 15th, so that was about 5 days ago. Inside the trailer, agents found more than 1,500 pounds of a substance later determined to be meth. The meth was hidden on pallets, packaged and disguised to look like alfalfa pellets. Uh, authorities uncovered the trailer was being transported to Tennessee from Mexico. 1, 2, 3, 4 people arrested, 20 agencies involved. TBI Aviation, TBI Middle Tennessee, Metropolitan Nashville Police Department, Tennessee Highway Patrol, the DEA, the Dixon Police Department, the Dixon County Sheriff's Office, Dixon Special Response Team, Rutherford County Sheriff's Office, Laverne Police Department. I mean, it goes on and on. U.S. Army Criminal Investigations Division, Federal Bureau of Investigation, the FBI, the U.S. Attorney's Office, the White Bluff Police Department, and the McEwen Police Department. That's a big, big investigation and a huge thing. They took out a lab, a new and as yet unused but functional crystal meth lab conversion lab was also seized. And when they did that, they found 8 additional pounds of crystal meth and 2 weapons. Congratulations, law enforcement within the sound of my voice. That's a hell of a bust right there. That's a good one, and that's helpful to our community. We got news yesterday that indeed we're going to get the 2030 Super Bowl. Nashville business owners say hosting the Super Bowl in 2030 could become the biggest economic event in the city's history. This according to, this is WKRN. Nashville has hosted major sporting events before. We did the Stanley Cup in 2017, generated an estimated $50 million for the local economy. Remember the NFL draft in 2019? We did a great bang-up job with that, and that's probably why we are being actively considered for the Super Bowl. They had 600,000 people came here for the draft, and they believe that produced about $224 million in positive economic impact for our community. But they say the Super Bowl is the mother of all events, and quite frankly, we are expected to do very, very well. Yes, it's a hassle when these things happen to people who live here, but it's great for our community and it's great for our economy, and it'll be a showcase for the new facility. It would be great if we had a good football team to play there. We'll see how that works out in the days ahead. But one way or the other, that's a great feather in our cap to have the Super Bowl coming here in 2030. I am very excited about that. This story. I think I predicted this. Remember when we had the big ice storm and your electricity, many of you lost electricity, some of you for about 2 weeks, because NES did not do everything that perhaps they should have done in the way of tree trimming. And so, after that, you want to make sure you don't have that happen again. And the criticism that NES came under for not doing enough tree trimming, they were more interested in DEI than they were in trimming the trees. And as a result, perhaps the ice storm had more of an impact than it might have otherwise done. They compared and contrasted NES to other electrical companies around the area and how they had been doing tree trimming, and they didn't have near the losses that NES had. Now comes this from WKRN website. Metro Council is urging Nashville Electric Service to temporarily pause its aggressive tree trimming practices as council members press for more information about changes made after Winter Storm Fern and raise concern about how those decisions have been communicated to residents. So they get hammered for not trimming trees. And then when they go and they start to trim the trees, they get grief from the people who say, I don't want you trimming my tree. Why are you trimming that tree? Now that tree's just butt ugly. I hate what you've done to that tree. Well, okay. First of all, let me ask you a question. Why do you have trees that are in the power lines? If you have a tree that's in a power line, and then you lose power, my question is, why did you let a tree grow into your power line? But one way or the other, if NES comes in and trims that tree to keep it from losing power, and you complain, then you got nothing to say if your power goes out. Nothing. Look, I get it. I understand. But I think I think the huge mistake is made. And when we build up a subdivision, for example, we put a lot of trees. And if you look, some of these trees are going to grow into power lines. Why do we do that? That's just insane. I can tell you right now, on my property, on my 2 acres that I own here in Bucolic Watertown, if I had a tree that was growing up into the power lines, I'd take the tree out. That would be my responsibility because I don't want to lose power. But if NES, you can't have it both ways. You can't be mad at NES because they had power failures because they failed to trim trees. And when they start to trim trees, you say, I don't like NES because they're trimming the trees. How can you win? On this one, I'm with NES. NES has got to get in there and trim these trees aggressively to make sure we don't have another 2 weeks without electricity. And that's just the way it is. And then those trees are going to be ugly. But my question is, why were those trees there in the first place? Why were they allowed to do that? So, we'll see how that works out in the days ahead. Coming up in just a moment, I want to talk a little bit about Nate Bargatze and his plan for a theme park in Nashville. Very, very exciting news. That's right. We lost Opryland, but we may be getting Nateland, and I couldn't be more excited about that. 45 minutes now past the hour of 9 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. God, that's distorted, man. Dude.
President Trump defending the time frame of the Iran war. We'll have what he said. Also a settlement in the case of a Perry County man who was arrested over a meme that he posted on social media. We'll have that coming up at 10 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It is 51 minutes past the hour of 9 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Brian Wilson in the chair today for Chris And, who will return tomorrow, as we expect he'll return tomorrow. We've got a nice day on tap, but it's going to rain. I don't know. I'm hearing conflicting reports, but the forecast I'm looking at says that there's a 90% chance of rain in our area today. And here's the thing that I want you to know about the rain. It's apparently going to rain for the next 7 days. At least there's a pretty good chance of it raining in your area over the next 7 days. So that's good because I don't know about you, but man, I need the rain on my lawn. My yard is looking pretty dry, and I think a lot of people are really, and our farmers are suffering right now. We definitely need the rain, but if things go as they are predicted to go, over the course of the next 7 days, we should maybe get caught up a little bit on that. I think you're talking about maybe an inch in this first round. So that's good news. This story from the Tennessean caught my eye today because I've been talking about it a lot of late. It has to do with license plate readers and other technology that police departments are using very effectively to fight crime and or evil. And they work. They really are very effective. And I know people get concerned about privacy issues. Well, here's the bottom line. The moment you leave your house, you have no expectation of privacy. The Supreme Court has ruled this time and time again, there is no expectation of privacy on a public street. So there's that. Legally, you don't have any protections with regard to that kind of stuff. And quite frankly, you're on a camera, you leave your driveway, and you drive to work, you probably have passed at least 50, 60 cameras on the way to work. I mean, they're everywhere. But Nashville has not embraced this idea of license plate readers. And I think it's a huge mistake. It's working very well in Wilson County. It's working very well in other communities. A lot of neighborhoods have put them in of their own volition because the city won't, but they won't. And here's a story that says if you compare Nashville to 9 different peer cities, in other words, similar sized cities across America that have, similar populations, etc., we are not doing the things in Nashville that other law enforcement agencies are doing. Nashville, quote, isn't deploying the kind of public safety technologies widely used in peer cities across the South and the Midwest. That includes tools like license plate readers, integrated surveillance networks, which have become increasingly controversial topics in Nashville over the past several years for both elected officials and the public. The Metro Council has rejected contracts for similar things that have been done in other areas. A report commissioned by the Nashville Police and Public Safety Alliance, an independent nonprofit organization focused on improving public safety in Nashville, notes that 9 other peer cities are largely embracing such technology, but not in Nashville. By the way, the one that doesn't have it, that's about the same size, is Austin, and they're in this list, but Austin and Nashville, very similar in many ways. They are islands of blue surrounded by a sea of red. Both cities are very blue. Everything around it is very red. And inside the city, the Democrat politics are such that they don't really want to crack down on crime. Why is that? Why is it in Nashville we don't want to do the things to take criminals off our streets, and at the same time, by the way, we're cutting our fire department budget by $400,000? Not good. Public safety is job one, Mayor O'Donnell. Come on. It's the most important thing that you do. We need to have our community be safe. We need this kind of technology that has worked so effectively and has driven crime rates down in communities all around our area. And by the way, with protections to make sure that it's being used responsibly against people against whom there are criminal complaints filed. They don't just they scan license plates, but they only ping on the ones that are in the system with a criminal complaint attached to them. Why don't we want to take criminals off the street in Nashville? You know, we've got a problem with crime and or evil in Music City, and we need this kind of technology, and apparently we just are unwilling to do that. And it's, if you look at 9 other cities, the vast majority of them are doing things that Nashville is not doing. Sure, we get the Super Bowl, but how safe are people going to be? Put the dadgum license plate readers up and quit cutting the funding for your fire department. Public safety, job one in Nashville. Okay, on a lighter note, and I just have a minute or two to get this worked in, I am extremely excited that Nate Bargatze is going to have a theme park in Nashville. You know, Nate, I happen to have read his biography. I study everything there is about, I read everything there is about Nate because I just love the guy. I think he's hilarious. I love the fact that he operates clean. He's just a good fellow, a good all-around guy. And and when he was a young man, one of his first jobs was working at Opryland, which, as you know, we don't have anymore. He worked at Opryland and handed out, I don't know what he did, but he had some, that's where kids went to get part-time jobs back in the day. Now comes word that Nate wants to put his own theme park in place here in Music City, and it's got to be called Nateland. Nate says he wants to be like Walt Disney. He announced his company Nateland and Storyland Studios partnered to bring a family fun theme park to Nashville. They released some renderings. I found this on Channel 2's website. No announcement on the location has been made, but back in November, but it was indicated that Nateland and Storyland Studios working together to find a site that will be over 100 acres. Theme park could include key amenities like retail, dining, and a hotel. Those are still under consideration, apparently. The feasibility study for the project has been completed. Project officials say once it is, they will be turning over their attention to investors to move the project forward. We're talking about $350 million for a Nateland amusement park. For all of those who mourn, I mean, and, I didn't live in Nashville, but I came to Nashville, and the first thing I wanted to do is I wanted to go to Opryland. I never understood why they tore Opryland. Nobody understands why they tore Opryland down and put a mall in its place. It was really a wonderful thing for our community. Nate remembers it. Nate wants to bring that back in his own way, and I am excited for the fact that we are going to have a Nateland amusement park here in the Nashville area sometime in the near future. Go, Nate. It is now time for the news with Jay Harper at 10 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It is 10 a.m., and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We'll have another weather report for you. And, yeah, there is some rain in the forecast. We'll have all that here in a bit. President Trump defending the time frame of the Iran war. There's no negotiations on the table that would lead to a peace deal. The Strait of Hormuz is still being blockaded, and that's sending oil and gas prices higher than they were before the war. But before leaving to give the commencement address at the Coast Guard Academy, the president said he's not in a hurry to make a peace deal.
Well, let's put it this way. You were in Vietnam 19 years, right? You were in Afghanistan and these other places 10 years. You were in Iraq. How long were you in Iraq? 12 years? You were in Korea for 7 years. World War II is different. That was 4 years. I'm in for 3 months, and much of it's been ceasefire, so.
Now we get back to Tennessee, where the retired police officer jailed for posting a Facebook meme quoting President Trump after the death of Charlie Kirk. He's won a settlement against Perry County. Larry Bussard, he was arrested in September of last year by Lexington, Tennessee police and put in jail in Perry County over a meme after the murder of the conservative podcaster Charlie Kirk. Bussard, he'll now get $835,000 from Perry County in exchange for dismissing his complaint. The meme, which Bussard didn't create, showed the text, "We have to get over it," next to an image of the president, citing a comment the president made on the Perry High School mass shooting day after. Bussard wrote, "This seems relevant today." He was charged with threatening mass violence at a school, according to the arresting officer, but the district attorney general there declined to prosecute the case and dropped the charges. Bussard, he was released from custody after serving 37 days in the Perry County Jail. That's the latest news. Weather is up next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
It's 5 minutes past the hour of 10 o'clock. Good morning, everybody, on this beautiful May 20th. We got rain on the forecast and a high today of around 78 degrees. So enjoy the nice weather before the rain comes. And, you know, we need the rain. And as I mentioned earlier, it looks like we're in for about, if this forecast is accurate, maybe 5, 6, 7 days of rain. A pretty good chance of rain for the next 7 days, which, man, I tell you what, we could use it. It's been dry. It really has been dry. Well, we spent the first hour talking about what's going on with Iran, and of course that's a major thing, and talking about some of the things happening locally as well. But I wanted to spend the first part of the 10 o'clock hour talking about what happened with all of the elections around the country last night and what it means. As you know, we are looming down the pathway is the midterm elections, and we're in the primary process now. And we're going to do some of these redistricting, and that's going to help us out a lot. But really, honestly, the prevailing headwinds are pretty intense with regard to what might happen in this midterm election, and I'm telling you, I'm a little worried now that we've got to get through Iran and clear the deck so that we can focus on the midterm elections. Because as soon as we get through with Iran, gas prices will come down. We need a period of what I call peaceful prosperity, and it doesn't have to be long. It just has to be there, so that people can see what can happen in normality when we're not in a war, when the economy is starting to boom and people are getting money. You know, I think one of the reasons why people are economically perhaps a bit more optimistic is I think those tax refunds are starting to kick in and people are spending money and they're using it, and that just juices the economy. But here we go. Let's get back to these endorsements that Trump has made. I'll tell you what it tells me. Number one, when it comes to Republican Party politics, MAGA is still the powerhouse, and the president has a lot of influence on how those elections will come out, the primary elections. Trump's endorsement machine steamrolls Republican dissent is the headline from the Wall Street Journal. Trump's vanquishing of Thomas Massie in Kentucky is a warning shot to Republicans considering a break with the president. President Trump delivered a clear message to Republicans in Tuesday's primaries. Cross the president at your own peril. His powerful primary endorsements have left behind a battered trail of fellow Republicans judged disloyal by Trump, maverick Indiana legislators. Louisiana Senator Bill Cassidy went down hard. And now, last night, Thomas Massie of Kentucky, who Trump had labeled an obstructionist and a fool. Trump's triumph in Tuesday's Kentucky congressional primary, which saw Republicans reject Massie in favor of Trump-backed challenger Ed Galbraith, served as the latest reminder of the president's enduring grip on his Make America Great Again base. Massie frequently clashed with the president and broke with him over spending and the Iran war, and was instrumental in forcing the president to release the Justice Department's files in the case of Jeffrey Epstein, the convicted sex offender. It was also a shot across the bow of any Republican considering putting a distance between themselves and Trump ahead of a challenging midterm election that many predict will see Democrats taking control of the House. Thomas Massie decided he was so mad at Donald Trump and House Speaker Mike Johnson that he would vote against them out of spite, said Brad Todd, a Republican strategist. Let this be a warning to anyone who has that impulse. Still got the clout, took out Massie in a huge way. Trump put the full weight of his political apparatus behind Galbraith, who received millions of dollars from super PACs linked to the president and pro-Israel advocacy. Hours before the polls closed, Trump flexed his hold on the party again, endorsing Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton in the Senate GOP primary next week against incumbent Senator John Cornyn. The president called Cornyn a good man, but made it clear that loyalty was paramount. He was not supportive of me when times were tough, Trump said of Cornyn. Well, I think he makes a good point. Cornyn has disagreed with the president at times, but this endorsement of Paxton, and Paxton, did very well in the primary. I don't think it was the right thing because I think Paxton is a very flawed candidate. So I don't know that he's going to prevail in that Senate race. I really don't know. I don't have a good sense of it. But I will tell you that I understand the concerns that they have about Cornyn. He's a longtime incumbent. A lot of people are anti-incumbent right now. They're just in the mood for something different. They don't like the fact that Cornyn wasn't there for Trump. They want the MAGA Republicans in the state of Texas still want their Republican senators to support the Republican president, and they get upset when he doesn't do that the way they think they should. Trump takes it quite personally. He has endorsed Paxton, and that'll be interesting to watch as that thing unfolds in the state of Texas. But really the question is, okay, we know that he can have control over the primary process. If he endorses a candidate, Republicans take note of that and they support their president. They continue to support that president. He is very powerful within Republican Party, conflict. If there's conflict, he wins. But will he win in November? Will Republicans win in November? I think we're doing some things with regard to redistricting. As you know, we did it here in Tennessee. We redistricted to make it likely that there will be 9 Republican congressional districts. They're doing it in other places as well. They did it in Florida, and it's happening, and that will help. But you got to understand that if the wave is there, the anti-Republican wave is there, and it could be, then it could turn out very bad. I mean, let me just give you a little background. It is absolutely true that if you look at the history of midterm elections, almost invariably the party in power does not do well. And the times that the party has not done well, it could be really bad. For example, let's look at Obama. Obama, in his midterm election, lost, you ready for this? 60 House seats. I'm not making, it was unbelievable how bad it was for Obama. And why? Because Obama was not popular nationwide. He was popular within his own party, but not nationwide. And so you've got Trump out there, popular among his party, nationwide, his approval rating somewhere in the upper 30s, maybe in the low 40s, not setting the world on fire with popularity nationwide, still very popular among Republicans. So the question is, what would happen? Could he lose 60 seats? No matter how many of these redistricting efforts that you undertake, you're not going to make up 60 seats. So that's how bad it can be in a situation where you have an unpopular nationwide, an unpopular president in a midterm election. The winds are automatically against you in a midterm election, and you can't say we're not in charge because we control the White House, the House, and the Senate. What will happen afterwards if the Democrats take either the House or the Senate, then effectively we're talking about gridlock for the remainder of the Trump presidency. So a lot at stake here. With regard to redistricting, some huge news about South Carolina, according to townhall.com. From the Palmetto State, a new map has been approved by the South Carolina State House, now moves to the Senate, where it hope it will pass. There was some drama during the first attempt. Let's hope it doesn't happen again, writes the author here, Matt Vespa. But it's gone through the lower chamber, still has to go through the Senate, but they're making moves to see if they can redistrict in South Carolina as well. We could pick up, maybe as many as 10 or 15 seats through this redistricting if it goes well. But the bottom line is you still going to have a pretty good turnout for Republicans if they're going to prevail in the midterm elections in a huge way. The most likely outcome is gridlock. But I'm crossing my fingers, but I just have to send up the flare, and I have to be honest with you. My job is not to tell you what you want to hear. My job is to tell you what I think is truth as best I can discern it. And my experience teaches me that these midterm elections could be brutal. I hope that they're not. And maybe, all the pundits and the pollsters are wrong. Maybe the Republicans will do much better in the midterm elections, but we need to be prepared. And it's going to be tough. And it's going to be a hard-fought battle. Our best chance, the one thing that tends to cause the election to not be bad for the midterm is if the economy is really pumping. If the economy is pumping hard and things are going well economically and people perceive that, then generally that midterm election is not as bad, and we might. So we need desperately, please listen to me when I say this. We need to resolve whatever's happening in Iran. We need to get the Strait of Hormuz back open. If we're going to do anything in Cuba, it's got to start happening. It's got to happen quick. And at the end of the day, if you can get out of Iran, allow gas prices to come down, allow the economy, which is poised, as I told you earlier, poised to do some big things if we can just let it, we get out of its way and let the economy do the thing that it needs to do, get the price of gasoline down, and we have a period. It can be like 2-3 months. It's all it takes for people to start to feel it and to know that the economy, that's our best hope. Everything really, really comes down to, are we out of Iran? Are gas prices down? And is the economy starting to rebound the way we all know it will if we can get the gasoline prices down? I think we could come out okay, but today I'm beginning to get a little worried about the timing of ending the thing in Iran. I've not been a nervous Nelly about this, but we need to get that thing finished up, and we need to move on. We had to do it. I'm glad we did it. I support the effort. I am not backing away from it. It was the right thing to do. We needed to do that, and take all of the heat that you want to take for it. It was still the right thing to do because we could never allow Iran to have a nuclear weapon. The world would have been in turmoil the moment that happened, and I'm glad that we did it. But we need to wrap it up, and we need to move on. And I'm hoping that happens. Let's see what else I got in regard to the primaries last night is, Trump backs Paxton in Texas Republican Senate showdown with Cornyn. I like John Cornyn. I understand why he's catching flack because he's been there a long time. He wasn't particularly loyal to Trump, and Paxton has gotten the endorsement. The president endorsement comes as the two Republicans head to a May 26th runoff. Neither has cleared 50% in the primary. So May 26th, 6 days from now, we will find out how that is going to be resolved. Paxton has some flaws as a candidate. I don't know that he can win the Senate against the Democrats who will be running there because he is such a weakened individual. But let's see how that all plays out in the days ahead. So there you have it. I mean, look, I'm looking for one other story here. Hold on. Yeah, here we go. This is another version of the story. This is from the New York Times, so take it with a grain of salt. Trump's spring revenge tour routed GOP foes, but fall headwinds loom. I know that headline comes from the New York Times, and I know that that's a negative, but I think that's accurate. I have to say, my feeling of this is that's pretty accurate. So there you have it. Will 2026 be a normal midterm? It will be interesting to see how it all goes. The economy, it's the economy, stupid. Let's get back and show people that Trump knows what he's doing with regard to the economy. And that means we've got to wrap things up in Iran pretty quickly. 20 minutes now past the hour of 10 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Brian Wilson in for Chris Hand.
Are charges against the former leader of Cuba on the horizon? We'll have that story. Also, foodies are calling it the end of an era in Las Vegas. We'll have those stories coming up at 10:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It is 24 minutes past the hour of 10 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I am Brian Wilson, your friend and radio buddy, in for Chris Hand. And he'll be back tomorrow, just a little under the weather. I want to go to the swamp if I could and talk about some of the things that are going on in the swamp. And I think there's a pretty interesting stuff happening. Yesterday, the president did a big song and dance outside, showing off the construction of his new ballroom. And I think it's going to be awesome. But as you know, he's getting a lot of flack about spending. Well, look, I think there's confusion. Let me see if I have this right. I think I do. That Trump says that the ballroom is not going to cost people any money, that it's going to be done with private donations. Him and others are going to pay for the ballroom. And the ballroom will be on top of a secure complex. And that's not being, that needs to be done one way or the other. And it is not a part of the ballroom project. It really is for security, a bunker, and all kinds of things that need to be upgraded to make the White House a secure place for our presidents during these troubled times that we live in. So he's not saying that that's going to be picked up. And so there's real confusion because people say, well, it's not free. No. The ballroom is free. The security ought not be on Trump's tab, and they need to take advantage of this construction and build out those areas underneath the ballroom. And he says it's going to be, a very that the actual ballroom will be a shield for what is underneath. From I think this is abcnews.com. Trump calls construction of the new White House ballroom a gift. President Trump insisted that while construction was happening on his new ballroom, no tax dollars will be used to pay for it. Donald Trump showed off the construction site for the controversial ballroom in a tour for reporters on Tuesday, called it a massive project, started with the demolition of the White House East Wing as a fortress for himself and future presidents. This is a shield that protects everything that's inside, that's everything that's on top. He said he also would be the safest building ever built, in my opinion. With a poster board mock-up on hand of what the finished product would look like, Trump spoke about the hollowed construction site. The underground complex, he said, will be 6 stories deep. Wow. And include a military hospital, research facilities, and meeting rooms. Impenetrable steel and window glass that is approximately 4 inches thick are among the security features. The roof, he said, will have a massive drone capacity and act as a drone port so it can protect all of Washington. You know, that's being done in a lot of police departments right now. Asked for additional details about the drone port, the White House offered no additional explanation, referring ABC News to Trump's comments. A judge has ruled that Trump can't build the ballroom without authorization from Congress, though he said security-related work could go on. So they may be able to build what's underneath, but they may not be able to build the ballroom on top of it. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how this all gets worked out. But he says the ballroom is a gift. But he's not offering up the money to build a complex that will go 6 stories underground. Wow, that's really quite something. Yesterday, I thought pretty interesting. We had J.D. Vance doing the briefing. You know, Caroline Leavitt is out, and they're having people come in and do the White House briefings. Marco Rubio did a great job the other day. I watched it with yesterday, and the one thing I walked away saying is that Vance has an amazing grasp of the details of virtually everything that's going on around him. He was asked a wide variety of questions, didn't seem to have any notes, but he had at his fingertips facts and statistics and information, and was, clearly on top of everything that was going on, suggesting that, he is behind the scenes, plugged in a huge way. I mean, his job is basically to be ready in case he's needed. He's one heartbeat away from the presidency. That's his main job. He didn't get to go to China because, well, when the president's out of the country, the vice president has to stay home and take care of things and to be in position in Washington to make sure that things continue to go, to be available to vote on the floor of the Senate if that's necessary. Both men can't really be out of the country at the same time, so he didn't get all the publicity that came with that. But let me tell you something. J.D. Vance was impressive in that performance yesterday. He got some tough questions from the press corps, handled them beautifully. Just a really, really solid performance from J.D. Vance yesterday in the White House briefing room. It's a difficult job. You know, Caroline Leavitt makes it look easy, but it's a tough, tough job. 30 minutes now past the hour of 10 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Time for the news.
It is 10:30, and I'm Jay Harper with your top story. Stand by. A weather report here in just a couple of minutes. Sources tell ABC News that the Justice Department is expected to announce charges today against former Cuban leader Raul Castro. The charges will likely include murder after the shooting down of two planes carrying humanitarian aid back in the 90s. Florida Congresswoman Maria Salazar spoke about the prospect of the charges today and her hopes for regime change in Cuba.
Today is a glorious day for those Cubans who had to leave their homeland unwillingly, the people that we represent in the city of Miami, only because of the cruelty and the wickedness of a group of gangsters, the Castro family.
An amateur treasure hunter made a discovery in North Texas that he won't forget anytime soon. Here's ABC's Jim Ryan.
In waist-deep water at a Dallas area lake, Mike Reiter broke out his metal detector.
Big signal in the water.
He pulled up a metal pipe capped on each end.
It's 100% a pipe bomb.
Startled doesn't begin to describe the feeling.
Top 3 scariest moments in my life.
Reiter called 911 and the bomb squad was brought in to safely detonate the device.
You felt the concussion through your whole body, just boom.
Police told Reiter that fishermen sometimes use explosives for an easy catch, extremely dangerous and completely illegal. For Mike Reiter,
it took me hours just to stop shaking afterwards.
Foodies are calling it the end of an era in Las Vegas. Here's Hannah Battah.
The Heart Attack Grill, known for its indulgent menu, offered for free to those weighing more than 350 pounds, has announced it will close. The restaurant became world famous for its massive portions, hospital gown dress code, and spankings for customers unable to finish their food. The restaurant jokingly saying, "We're proud of our 21-year impact on America's waistline."
Okay, hey, that's the latest news. We've got weather up next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
It's 10:36 on Super Talk 99.7. Brian Wilson in the chair for Chris Hand today. Chris will be back tomorrow. Just a little under the weather. Got the call, early this morning, and everything. Things should return to normal tomorrow. Joan Jones will be back tomorrow, as I understand it, and everybody will be in their rightful place, and I will return to relative obscurity here in Watertown, Tennessee. All right, a couple of things happening. We have a situation today where we're going to see perhaps an indictment leveled against Raul Castro from CNN.com. The Justice Department anticipated criminal charges against former Cuban President Raul Castro is a prosecution more than 30 years in the works, with federal prosecutors in Miami first drafting an indictment against him in the 1990s. After 3 decades, criminal charges expected to be announced Wednesday at an event in Miami focused on the 94-year-old Castro's role years before his presidency as defense minister and his alleged role in ordering the 1996 shootdown of 2 civilian aircraft belonging to the Cuban-American group Brothers to the Rescue, this according to people briefed on the matter. What's going to happen with Cuba? I'm not real sure for what's going to happen there at the end of the day. But I will say this, whatever happens, Cuba's in a mess. And I again, we don't need a conflict with Cuba. It is concerning that apparently they now have drones, and remember, they're only 90 miles from Key West. So them having drones, attack drones, could be something to be concerned about. Certainly, it's something we're going to be watching very closely. The president has said something could happen. We had the CIA director in Cuba not long ago. He didn't show up. You see, when the CIA wants to do things in a quiet way, the CIA takes an unmarked jet, and they land, and they have their meetings, and then they fly out. We didn't do that. John Ratcliffe went there with a big old 757, had United States of America on the side of it, big as Dallas. It was a very, very public trip that he took, and who knows what those meetings were all about. But the question is that the president would like to do something about Cuba, and one of the things that may happen that will bring that about could happen today with the indictment of 94-year-old Raul Castro. So there we go. What would happen in that regard? I want to talk, if I could, about Kamala Harris. As you know, Kamala Harris has been out there doing some interviews. And while we're talking about all the things that are happening with regard to the midterm elections and what might happen in 2028, Kamala Harris is apparently, making noises that suggest that she wants to be a candidate for the presidency in 2028. And she's throwing out some ideas, and they're pretty radical. Here is Kamala Harris. She's on a talk show with a bunch of other African-American women, and they're talking about what we need to do. And she's talking in a very militaristic way. And the thing she wants to start with, you've heard this perhaps, is she wants to have a session with Democrats where they lay out any and all ideas. She said there will be no bad ideas. Let's just have a sort of a session where we just throw out anything and see what sticks. Here's Kamala Harris.
In addition to everything that we know we're going to do in terms of what we have to do to activate, to march, to protest, to speak up, I think that we need an expanded playbook. Okay? And I think there's going to be some risk that we're going to have to assume along with that, but we need to be prepared to be able to handle that. I think that we need an expanded playbook in a way that we invite all ideas, that we have basically, that we say, this is a moment where there are no bad ideas. A no bad idea brainstorm is what I'd like to call it. And in that no bad ideas brainstorm, we talk about what we need to do and think about doing around the Electoral College. We talk about the idea of Supreme Court reform, which includes expanding the Supreme Court. We invite a conversation about multi-members districts. We talk about, that if we win the Senate, which we should and we will, then the Senate Judiciary Committee should have rules that they put in place so when these people come before as nominees to the Supreme Court and lie, that they are held to account and consequence. Not just that somebody goes on cable news and says they lied, but that there are rules in place to actually penalize people for lying to a Senate Judiciary Committee. That we agree that it is right to have ethics rules for Supreme Court justices. And let's put those in place. Let's talk about statehood for Puerto Rico and D.C.
No.
These are the things I think that we've got to do. We've got to neutralize these red states from cheating, including blue states expanding their maps. And all of this, I think, is look, we got to fight fire with fire. These folks are playing to win. We got to play to win, too.
Well, hold on just a minute. There's so much to unpack all that. But let's just talk about, you should pay attention when she speaks. Because she is telling you what Democrats will do if they get in charge. And that's why these midterm elections are so important. I mean, if they get control of the Senate, which, probably, of the two bodies, it seems like the House is the one where Democrats have the better shot. But if they were to get the Senate, you know what they're going to do. They're going to get rid of the filibuster. You may not like the filibuster. I believe the filibuster serves a purpose, and what the purpose it serves is protecting the rights of the minority. Sometimes we're in the majority. Sometimes we're in the minority. I don't think the filibuster is a bad thing. I think it should be difficult to pass difficult legislation, and I'm all for that. So you may disagree, but she wants to do away with the filibuster. They want to pack the court. That's the one that you got to watch out for. They're getting killed in the Supreme Court right now because we've got a 6-3 majority. It's ironic that one of the reasons why we have a 6-3 majority is that Harry Reid changed the rules on how we confirm Supreme Court nominees. And it worked to our advantage, not theirs. Well, it was their idea. To change that rule with regard to voting on Supreme Court nominees in the United States Senate as part of the advice and consent process, but it didn't work out for them. So now what they want to do is they want to pack the court. Let's add 6 new justices or however many that you want. And by the way, remember they'll be in charge of the Senate, and so anybody who retires, they'll have to get confirmed in a Democrat-controlled Senate. Very possibly. So be aware. They will tell you exactly what they want to do. Expanding the Supreme Court, doing a change, major changes to the Electoral College. Again, I know there's some of you out there who don't like the Electoral College. The Electoral College is something that I think one of the brilliant ideas of our founding fathers to make sure that things move smoothly. And I think the Electoral College, I don't have a problem with it. I don't want to see elections decided on popular vote. I just don't. I think that's dangerous. The Electoral College system does not need to be changed, but they want to reinvent the wheel, and they're going to do radical things if they win, which is why the stakes are so high in these coming midterm elections. Here's a little bit more from Kamala Harris, which I think is interesting, saying, hey, yeah, we would never, ever violate the law. Oh, really?
And look, we are never going to violate the law or do anything unethical or immoral, but we need to be ruthless, too.
They would never violate the law. Never. No, not the Democrats. But they're going to be ruthless because the Republicans are ruthless.
And that means knowing the tools that are at our disposal or are within our reach. And yes, there may be risk associated with reaching for them. But look, this is what a fight looks like.
All right. Listen, she's telling you what they're going to do. Don't ignore it. Because they're telling you what their plan is, and I don't like any of it. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how that all goes. I mean, the midterm elections are going to be so important. Again, I don't want people to freak out. I think there is still time for us to to get things in order for the midterm elections, and it's entirely possible that we'll come out okay. But we'd have a much better chance of having things work out in our advantage. The best thing we can do, the most important thing we can do in the time we have now, this is May 20th, elections in early November, tick tock, time is starting to run down. We need to resolve what's ever going to be resolved in Iran, get the Strait of Hormuz open, bring the gas prices down. If we have to do something with Cuba, it's got to be quick. And maybe we just put that off for a little while, one way or the other. But at the end of the day, we need to make sure that people perceive that the economy is stronger. The economy is starting, I think, to percolate and come back, even with high gas prices. But if we can get gas prices down and everything else is poised to just explode, I think people will perceive that before the November election. But not if we drag our feet, not if this thing goes on and on and on. I took the president at his word that this was going to be 4 to 6 weeks. And yes, it's been 11 weeks. And yes, it's complicated. But we need to wrap that up. We really need to wrap that up. And it's my hope that that will happen in very short order. We may have to hit them one more time, but one way or the other, it is my hope that perhaps we can get this thing all buttoned up. Because if we don't, the things that they're talking about are going to happen, and it will not be good for our country. A lot is at stake. Let's call it 48 minutes past the hour of 10 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
President Trump taking a victory lap after his endorsed candidate in Kentucky beat the incumbent. There's other reasons he's taking that victory lap today. We'll tell you about it coming up at 11 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey, that'd be Ken Weaver. Ken Weaver in the news closet. How you doing, kiddo?
What's going on, Brother Brian?
I just woke up this morning and they said, hey, Chris Hand not feeling too good. He's a little under the weather. Could you rally? So I've been rushing around this morning to get ready for the program. That's been my morning.
What time did you get that call? About 8:55?
Well, on Wednesdays I get up early because I do a hit on Dan's show called Wilson Wednesday.
Right.
And so I get up at 5:45 because I need to wake up, have some coffee,
yes, sir.
Get read in, make sure I'm up to speed on everything that's going in. So I got up at 5:45, and then I realized not only was I doing Wilson Wednesday, but I was doing this program as well this morning. But always happy to fill in for my buddy Chris when he needs it, and it's always good to get to work with you, Ken Weaver. It's always
sir.
One of the great joys of my life is getting to work with Ken Weaver.
Well, thank you, Brother Brian. I appreciate that, man.
Well, that's true. You are. I got to tell you, I sing your praises a lot. You are.
Well, thank you.
You are very good at what you do. People don't understand. And let me just throw a little Ken Weaver love here for a moment. I am, because people don't understand how hard it is to write great broadcast copy. In other words, when you're writing, and you write a lot of copy during a shift. Everything that you hear is written by your hand. There's no rip and read.
No,
it's all hand. But you have to take these very complex ideas and really just condense them down to easily understood little nibbles that you can put in a newscast and explain complicated ideas in ways that people can absorb them. And that, my feeling, Ken, is your true genius. Your true gift is being able to take complicated ideas and to make them understandable. Because I got an hour to fill, but you have to tell these complicated stories in 15, 20 seconds.
Yes. So. Sometimes it's easy when the audio that you choose tells the story.
Yeah.
Then you can just kind of throw a line in there. President Trump took questions today in the Oval Office, and then boom.
Yeah.
Just play the audio. But thank you, man. That means a lot coming from you, dude. You are the master storyteller.
Well, I'm a storyteller, but it takes me a while to unwind my stories, if you know what I'm saying.
Well,
but I understand, and I appreciate it, because when I was doing straight journalism, and I wasn't doing opinion journalism like I am now, and I was trying to be right up the middle and write these, I'd be working in Washington, and I would get handed this incredibly complex story.
Right.
And I had a minute 15 to tell that story, minute 20, maybe a minute 30, if I could talk about it the extra few seconds. But the bottom line is, it was always a struggle to get these complicated ideas resolved in a way that were easily understood in the short amount of time that you had to tell the story.
Right.
Well, that is, a minute 15 would be a gift. You have to do it in 15 seconds. And so it's a real gift that you have. And I truly have always admired, from the very first day when I came on to do the morning, I knew right off the bat, this guy knows his stuff because he knows how to write.
And man, we had some fun, didn't we?
We did. We had some fun.
You and Weber, man, right off the bat.
That's right. We got into it because as soon as what was it, 3 days in?
Yes.
The Megan Barry thing happened. Oh my goodness. Being from the Midwest, you'll love this story. Being from Oklahoma.
All right.
From Kansas, a car dealership in northeastern Kansas might be for the birds, literally. Olathe, Kansas. I guess that's the way you say it.
Yeah.
They had a Ford Lincoln dealership, and a robin built a nest on the tire of a brand new F-250 truck sitting on the lot. Turns out this particular robin is federally protected. Which means that they called in people and they said, you can't touch that nest and you cannot move that truck.
Wow.
So the eggs have hatched, and the dealership has to wait for the baby birds to leave the nest before they can move that truck or sell it. So if you buy the truck, you have to wait for the nest the little babies to fly away from the nest.
You think somebody might, unleash a few cats on the lot?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that they would do that. Here's what they say: this is not the first time that this has happened at the dealership. Workers say they have found cats and even some possums hiding inside vehicles.
Wow. In Kansas?
In Kansas. I didn't know they had possums in Kansas.
Well, I get they don't have many trees, so you would think that they're not going to be possums. They like to get up in the trees. Kansas doesn't have many because they've all blown over.
Right.
Because the wind is constant.
It's very flat, very flat. Listen, there's only one place that rivals Kansas for being flat, and I was surprised by it.
What's that?
And that is eastern Colorado.
Oh, yes.
I drove from the mountains east, and I came across the eastern Colorado. It is as flat as anything I've ever seen.
Oh, yes. Yeah, and it'll take you a day to drive 4 hours. It seems like. I mean, it seems like every you look at the mileage signs on your destination and you think it was 50 miles 40 miles ago.
You say, am I ever going to get there?
Yes.
I was driving through eastern Colorado. It was sort of, I think it was early winter. And the crops were already in, and it was flat, and all you were looking at was a lot of stubble and a lot of flat.
Yes, sir.
And I thought, I'll be so happy to get out of the flatlands of eastern Colorado. Well, anyway, on that note, I've kept you busy. It's time for the news with Ken Weaver on Super Talk 99.7, 11 o'clock. Brian Wilson in for Chris Hand.
It is 11 o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories, and we are in for a rainy several days. We'll tell you if that's going to involve any severe weather coming up during the full forecast in 5 minutes. Americans going to be taking to the skies and hitting the road today, the start of the Memorial Day holiday travel weekend. Here's ABC's Alex Perez in Chicago.
The majority of people who will be traveling this holiday weekend will be hitting the road. That's more than 39 million people, despite the pain at the pump. Now, the average price of regular gas this morning is about $4.55 a gallon, up from $3.18 this time last year going into the holiday weekend.
President Trump's defending the time frame of the Iran war. There's no negotiations on the table that would lead to a peace deal. The Strait of Hormuz is still being blocked, and that's sending oil and gas prices significantly higher than they were before the war began. And before leaving to give the commencement address at the Coast Guard Academy, the president says he's not in a hurry to make a peace deal.
Well, let's put it this way. You were in Vietnam 19 years, right? You were in Afghanistan and these other places 10 years. You were in Iraq. How long were you in Iraq? 12 years? You were in Korea for 7 years. World War II is different. That was 4 years. I'm in for 3 months. And much of it's been ceasefire, so.
President's taking a victory lap after his endorsed candidate in Kentucky beat incumbent Republican Thomas Massie in the primaries. Ed Gowron will face off against Democrat Melissa Strange in November. House Speaker Mike Johnson commenting on the win.
I talked with the president late last night after everything all the dust was settling over all the elections. And we talked about how his endorsement is the most powerful in the history of politics. I mean, anywhere in the world. I think it's just a phenomenon.
Here's ABC's Jay O'Brien, who covers Capitol Hill.
This is significant because it's the latest in a string of successful primary challenges we've seen President Trump mount against Republicans he perceives as disloyal. Those state lawmakers in Indiana. He ousted sitting Republican Senator Bill Cassidy with a Republican primary challenger, a Trump-backed challenger not long ago. And now, of course, Thomas Massie.
When it comes to home ownership, Women are far outpacing men, especially in some age groups, as we hear from Sherry Preston.
Between July of 2024 and June of 2025, single Gen Z women made up 35% of all home buyers of their generation, almost double the rate of single Gen Z men. Gen Z, by the way, is typically people under the age of 29. The National Association of Realtors says single women across all generations made up a quarter of all home buyers, while single men accounted for just 11%. Even so, older generations and married couples represent the largest share overall of home buyers across the country. Sherry Preston, ABC News.
That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hey, it's 11:05 on Super Talk 99.7. I am Brian Wilson filling in for Chris Hand. A little under the weather today. He'll be back tomorrow as far as we know. Happy to be here on this 20th day of May 2026. We're looking for a high today of around 78 degrees. And here's the thing. They're talking about a 90% chance of rain. And then we have a very high chance of rain for like the next 6-7 days, all the way to Memorial Day. So, you know, it's looking like we're going to have a pretty good chance of rain, which is great because, quite frankly, we really need some rain. It's been dry around here. I've been talking to my friends back in the Texas Panhandle. My sister still lives there, and they've been having wildfires like crazy out there. So, you know, a lot of parts of the country now under drought conditions. We certainly are in that mode, and we definitely need some rain. So hopefully over the next few days, we'll see some improvement in that situation. Our farmers need it, and my yard needs it. So let's get on with the rain, man. I'm ready for some rain. I want to talk, if I can, about Iran. You heard some of it in Ken Weaver's newscast, where he talked about the president talking about Iran. We were very close to relaunching the more military action. We were, well, Apparently very close, according to Trump.
I was an hour away.
An hour away. He was an hour away from launching another attack to go in there and to try to, move the Iranians towards some kind of deal.
I was an hour away. We were all set to go. You're talking about yesterday.
Yes.
We were going to be striking it would have been happening right now.
Right now. Well, that was yesterday. President was giving a tour of his new ballroom construction site, and he was asked some question about that, and he said, we were an hour away. Today, at Joint Base Andrews, as he was getting ready to go to give the commencement address for the Coast Guard Academy, he's there now, but on the way up, before he did, he talked to reporters and said that, look, Iran, they asked for a little more time, see if we can negotiate something. I'm in no hurry.
So we're going to give this one shot. I'm in no hurry. You never think, the midterms, I'm in a hurry. I'm in no hurry. Ideally, I'd like to see few people killed as opposed to a lot. We can do it either way, but I'd like to see few people killed. I just wonder whether or not they have the good of the people, because some of the things they're doing to me means they don't have the good of the people, and they have to have the good of the people. There's a lot of anger now in Iran because people are living so badly. There's a lot of foment that we haven't seen before so much, and we'll see what happens.
Has it taken longer than you expected it would to make a deal with Iran?
Well, let's put it this way. You were in Vietnam 19 years, right? You were in Afghanistan and these other places 10 years. You were in Iraq. How long were you in Iraq? 12 years? You were in Korea for 7 years. World War II is different. That was 4 years. I'm in for 3 months, and much of it's been ceasefire. So, and you know what? You lost hundreds of thousands of soldiers in these various wars. In 2 wars, Venezuela, where we lost nobody, and here, we lost 13 people. Now, 13 people is 13 too much, but we lost 13 people. In other wars, you lost hundreds of thousands of people. So people don't like it when you say, do you know you've lost 13? We've lost in 2 major wars. We took over Venezuela. We essentially took over Iran, and we've lost so far 13 people. Somebody else would have lost 100,000 people, okay? But I get a kick when I look at somebody on television. He's lost 13 people. I lost 13 people. They lost 13 people leaving an airport. Obama, 13 very good people that I got to know their families. So what we've done is amazing, and we have them decimated. Iran is decimated, and you're going to see things that are amazing.
Yeah, well, listen, I'm telling you, he's right about all that. We have destroyed their military, effectively taking out their Navy, taking out their Air Force, destroying their nuclear ambitions, their what do they call it? The nuclear material that they need to build bombs. They've taken that and they have denigrated their ability to do nuclear weapons, which is the real reason for all of this. And while I know that within the sound of my voice, there are many people who believe that this was dumb and we shouldn't have done it, and they don't like the fact that we're in this war, I would say to you, how would you have felt if they had gotten a nuclear weapon and held the whole world hostage? One nuclear weapon from Iran, and the world is in turmoil. There would be a huge economic impact to that. It'd be really bad for Israel as well. But they showed us in this war that they were developing missiles we didn't even know they had. We didn't even know they had a missile that could go as far as they did. And what they had all they would have had to have done, create a nuclear weapon, put it on that missile, and every capital, most of the capitals in Europe would be within the reach of that missile. He could hold Europe hostage. If they had gotten it to Venezuela, they could have held America hostage with that missile. We hit them because we had to hit them. Now we need to get out and get done. Iran is dragging their feet. You know why? Because it makes sense for them to drag their feet. They understand that the closer we get to the midterm elections, the more likely it is that Trump will want to get out. But he's made the determination, and I think he's right so far, but we're getting to that point where we got to do something about it. We got to get out of that thing cleanly and quickly so that we can start to focus on the midterm elections. But in the grand scheme of things, it would have been a disaster for us to have done nothing. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard, according to this is ABCnews.com, has threatened to push the war beyond the region if the U.S. or Israel resumes attacks, promising crushing blows in places you cannot even imagine. Well, are they able to do that, or is that aspirational? Look, here's what I will say about Iran. They will say some crazy stuff. It's guano crazy. But the bottom line is you don't look at what they say, you look at what they do. And, they'll say nutty things, but remember, that's for internal consumption inside Iran. They're deeply embarrassed by what has happened. They're trying to save face before the Iranian people. So they will talk with a lot of bluster. But the real thing you do with Iran, like other folks in the Mideast, is don't look at what they say, look at what they do. And I think that the fact that they are behind the scenes talking as if we could get very close to a deal suggests that they maybe are moving somewhat. But look, there's just one thing absolutely must happen, and that is that we cannot have a nuclear weapon in Iran. So that's not going to happen. The nuclear ambitions must come to a close. That's it. That's the main. You got to open up the Strait of Hormuz and allow free trade. That's got to happen. Those two things are non-negotiable. They must happen. Otherwise, we're going to have to be there for a while. But in the grand scheme of things, we just could not stand by and not do everything we had to do to stop Iran from getting the nuclear weapon. It would have been all over. We could never allow that. And to Trump's credit, he's the only guy who's been willing to take them on and do what needed to be done. Other presidents should have done this, and they would not. And thank goodness Trump was there to keep the Iranians in check. Want to mention this very quickly. The Senate advanced a measure to withdraw U.S. involvement in the Iran conflict. Senator Bill Cassidy, Republican of Louisiana, someone that Trump is dueling with right now, joined 3 GOP colleagues in backing the resolution, casting a decisive vote. The Epoch Times, the Senate advanced legislation Tuesday directing President Donald Trump to withdraw American forces from the Iran conflict unless Congress authorizes continued operations or declares war. Lawmakers approved the resolution 50-47. The measure, rooted in the 1973 War Powers Act resolution, cleared a key procedural hurdle after Senator Cassidy voted for the resolution. Cassidy, who had previously voted against similar measures introduced several times this year, delivered the decisive margin. Who was it? Who were the Republicans? Senators Rand Paul, Susan Collins, Murkowski voted for the resolution, along with Cassidy. Only one Democrat, John Fetterman, voted against it. Cornyn, Tom Tillis, and Tommy Tuberville were all absent. And so the thought is that while this was a big victory for those people who want to shut down Trump and the war, when those guys get back in the chair and they have the vice president to break a tie, that this will not go any further. I mean, it probably was never going to go anywhere. The fact of the matter is, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know how many times I have to say it, the War Powers Act is widely thought to be unconstitutional. Clearly unconstitutional. It limits the ability of the commander-in-chief, but it has never been tested before the Supreme Court. Every president that I've ever covered, and I go all the way back to Reagan, I covered some of Reagan, all the way to Reagan until today, they've all been against the concept of the War Powers Act. They've all said that they don't believe it's constitutional, Democrat and Republican. But, as soon as any kind of conflict begins, we start talking about the War Powers Act, the War Powers Act, the War Powers Act. I say, let's take this thing to the Supreme Court and decide once and for all whether it is constitutional or not constitutional. I believe the president and our Constitution gives our president a great deal of latitude in conducting foreign affairs and being the commander-in-chief of our military. And I don't believe that the Supreme Court will stand behind the War Powers Act if it's ever tested, but it never gets tested. So when you have presidents who they start talking about War Powers Act, presidents always say the same thing. Well, we're going to notify Congress support in consistent with the requirements of the War Powers Act, but not because we have to. They don't believe it's constitutional. So, what happens with the War Powers Act? I say I would like to see it challenged all the way to the Supreme Court. I would like to see whether or not it's constitutional. I don't believe it is. And let me tell you something. Democrat presidents have not believed that it is either, that it's constitutional. They've had the same problem that Republicans have. Presidents don't like to have Congress second guessing their responsibility to be the commander-in-chief of the military. So I think even though this passed in the first round, it's probably not going to prevail when you get everybody in their seats. When all the butts are in their seats and they cast their ballots, I don't think it's going to prevail one way or the other, but I wish we would just figure out for once and for all where we are on the War Powers Act. So there you have it. Interesting times that we're in with regard to the military and what's happening there. Trump says we're not in any hurry, and he says that he's prepared to do whatever it takes to force Iran. And it seems to me that we probably are talking about one more military action against Iran before we finish things up and pull out. We've got to get out of there. 20 minutes now past the hour of 11 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Well, we've got a line of showers approaching Nashville from the west. Right now, the heaviest of this rain is still west of 65 and south of 40. Looks like we're going to get some of this pretty much off and on all day today, and it's going to continue through the weekend. Mayor Freddie O'Connell joining Governor Lee, former Governor Bill Haslam, legendary sportscaster Jim Nantz, and other local and NFL leaders to talk about that Super Bowl coming to Nashville. Let's hear some of that coming up at 11:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Well, I'd like to know what you think about that, Ken Weaver, because, I mean, I'm excited about it. I mean, I heard some negativity. People say, oh, it's a big hassle, that we won't make as much money. I think we're going to do well with this. I mean, I look back to 2019 when we did the NFL draft.
Oh, yeah.
That was a huge success.
Yes, it was. That broke the mold. Well, actually, that started the trend now to where the NFL is going to these cities like Nashville that have great entertainment value. We drew 600,000 people to Lower Broad for that thing, and the NFL said then, okay, all right, that's how we're going to do this from now on. And so, of course,
they set the standard, no doubt.
Yeah, and so now, and of course, you've got this new stadium indoor that is supposed to be completed next year, so it's going to get 3 seasons under its belt before the big game in 2030. And this is the biggest event in Nashville's history that it has ever hosted, and you got three years to plan for it, man. So yeah, I mean, a lot of folks, locals, we got to work and live here. We got to pick up our kids, and we got to get to the doctor's office. We got to get to and from work on time. I mean, we're all going to complain about what the traffic might be like. But I think as far as maybe the economic impact from this is going to be really something. And although everybody can't afford a ticket to the Super Bowl, I mean, it's very expensive. There's like a whole week of events that are free that everybody can have a chance to experience once we get closer to this thing.
Look, I think this stadium is going to be really fantastic.
Oh, it looks like it.
Everything that I've seen, I think they've done a great job. It's a very expensive stadium. It's going to be a little smaller, won't hold as many people, but they say they can add some seats for an event like the Super Bowl if they need to. One way or the other, it's a great thing. I'm anxious to see, the new stadium completed, anxious to see what that means for our community. I think it's going to be a real asset for our community. Concerts and all kinds of other things can now occur that we really don't have a venue that can handle it to that degree. We will have a world-class entertainment venue.
Oh,
there.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, not just for football.
Not just for football, for a whole lot of other things. I could see us having a political convention here with that.
Yeah. If the city and the state can agree.
yeah. We almost had it once before.
Exactly.
Not that I'm bitter about that. Good Lord.
Right.
What I mean, talk about walking away from an economic boon.
Man.
Democrats in the city were so against the idea of a Republican convention here. They couldn't get past their Trump derangement syndrome.
Right.
To allow, because it was ours. It was ours for the taking.
Oh, yes.
We were there.
Yeah.
We had that sucker wrapped up.
Oh, yes. All they needed was the green light. And Nashville's leadership turned that light off.
Yeah. Well, I'll never forget that. But anyway, one way or the other, it's going to be a lot of money, and we're building. I forget how many. I saw a statistic, an astonishing number of hotel rooms for Nashville.
Yeah, there will be by the time 2030 rolls around, there will be at least 650 hotels with 80,000 rooms.
Wow. In a deal like that, though, every hotel room within 100 miles is going to be booked. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, anyway,
and
I think it's a good thing. I really do.
And the Music City Tunnel should be up and operating by then.
Yeah, I mean, I saw a picture where they're digging now.
Yeah,
and making some progress. It's. I haven't heard how good the progress is. Have you heard anything to suggest that it's going about like they expected? Because I kept looking at that, and as much as I like the idea, I'm a little concerned about how much rock they have to tunnel through.
Yeah, they got a lot of rock to tunnel through. But from from everything I've seen, it's still on schedule, and they're digging. And folks who fly in here to go to the Super Bowl, all they'll have to do is hop on one of those things, one of those cars that goes through the tunnel, and they'll get back and forth between downtown and the airport with relative ease.
Yeah,
at least that's the idea.
Yeah, I think it's going to be very interesting to see how that all plays out. But they apparently are making progress with that, so we'll see. All right. Hey, listen, on that note, I've talked to you right up to news time again. So it's time for the news with Ken Weaver at 11:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
$11:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast coming up in 5 minutes. Yeah, we've got some rain on the way. Right now, it is mostly along and west of 65, and then the heaviest of it is south of I-40. It is not anything severe. It's just some showers, some of it heavier in places than others. Maybe some thunder here and there, but nothing to be concerned about other than getting a good drink of water. Mayor Freddie O'Connell joining Governor Lee, former Governor Bill Haslam, legendary sportscaster Jim Nantz, and other local and NFL leaders this morning to discuss getting Super Bowl 64 in 2030.
Can't wait for more of the world to discover this great city where legends play.
Later this evening, the Nashville Convention and Visitors Corporation will host a free Super Bowl community celebration at 7:30 on Lower Broad. President Trump taking a victory lap after his endorsed candidate in Kentucky beat incumbent Republican Thomas Massie in the primaries. Ed Galreen faces off against Democrat Melissa Strange in November. Massie was a critic of some of the president's policies, especially related to the Epstein files and the war in Iran. House Speaker Mike Johnson was asked whether the Republican Party candidates have to align more with Trump rather than GOP policies.
We don't demand loyalty to the president. What I demand as Speaker of the House is loyalty to our core principles, the principles of our party, which are the principles of America, and that's what we're standing for.
2 police officers who defended the Capitol on January 6th are suing to stop the creation of President Trump's $1.7 billion anti-weaponization fund. Here's ABC's Peter Haralambous.
Former Capitol Police Officer Harry Dunn and Metropolitan Police Department Officer Daniel Hodges alleged the compensation fund would not only encourage those who committed violence in the name of President Trump, but also directly finance their operations.
That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hey, this is Pastor Al, and join us on Super Talk 99.7, Sunday evenings from 7 to 8. We're going to look at the news from a biblical perspective.
So this dude's dog wanders into the shot. And who is this guy?
So this is Hassan Piker. He's a left-wing streamer. He's very radical, Muslim, friends with Mamdani, big Mamdani supporter. And, this is just an insight to the kind of people they truly are at home. And he's on his live stream.
Yeah.
And as you said, his dog gets in the shot, won't sit down, which I understand. But at the same time, this dog is not getting in his way or anything. He is simply just circling, or as my wife would call it, nesting, trying to find that comfy spot.
Yeah.
So he shocks him.
Much more consequential violence, okay? It's the same reason as to why America, Kaya, please just go, just stop.
Kind of ironic this guy is
Oh,
talking
my
about
gosh.
violence.
Yeah, right?
While he shocks his dog. His dog's literally not even doing anything. He's just, as you said, he's circling in the background.
Yeah.
It is 36 minutes past the hour, 11 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Brian Wilson in for Chris Hand, all the way up till to noon, where Chad Benson will step in and take over. We'll talk to Chad in a minute. President of the United States is addressing the commencement group at the Coast Guard Academy over in New London, Connecticut right now. And he's reaching sort of what, anytime you do a commencement address, you try to give advice to the people who are graduating. And he's doing that just now. Let's listen in a little bit to some of the advice he's giving to these Coast Guard sailors as they head out on their military careers.
Today, let me leave you with a few words of advice to maybe help you a little bit on your way. First, most important, never ever give up. Never give up. They asked me, how do you be successful, sir? Starts with never give up. I've learned a lot about life, but the one thing I've really learned is that perseverance, never quitting, never giving up is a big deal. You'll be right there, right at the gate. And you've seen it. You've seen it in sports. You've seen it. They're right there at the gate and they give up. Never give up. And whatever happens, no matter where you are in life or what situation you find yourself in the seas or anywhere else that you may be, keep pushing forward. Always push forward. Never stop pushing forward. No matter how terrible the storm, no matter how difficult the mission, never surrender. Keep going, keep fighting, and make the adversary quit first. Let them quit. They're going to quit if you keep going. Second, at this pivotal time of transformation for our armed forces, you have to think big. It's much better thinking big. Small solutions yield small results. Only big ideas will yield to tremendous change and greatness. Americans do not want to live in a world ruled by someone else's big ideas. Live in a future and shape your future, and you want to dominate your future, and you want to dominate it for your great military and for your country. Think big. During the course of your Coast Guard careers, it will be time for incredible change, and change is going to happen, change that we can't even think of right now. The things will happen, and I believe for the best, hopefully for the best, but I believe for the best. But things will happen that you can't even imagine. And it's going to be very exciting, but the way that's going to happen is through thinking big. Nothing great was ever built. Think of that. Nothing great was ever built without the word momentum at your side. In times of your life, you'll have momentum. That's the time you go for it. I tell stories about people that lost their momentum and they went and it didn't work out well. You know when you're doing well. You know when you have that positive momentum. So take that momentum and go for it. So many people, they wait the wrong time. You know when it's right. Go with the momentum. The towering men and women of history have always been people of action. You answered the call to serve, and now you need to make sure that most of your time is spent on very important roles in life. You've done a lot, and you've had a lot of relaxation. Frankly, if you enjoy what you're doing, there's no such thing as work. It's not work. What you're doing, I would say with most of you, it's not work. What you've done is a lot of work, but it's not work. It really isn't. It's a great pleasure. I find myself, I work a lot. They say he's a workaholic. I'm not a workaholic. It would be tough if I didn't do things. If I didn't do things, I don't know what I'd be doing. It probably wouldn't be good. But you got to love it. And if you love it, it's never considered work. There will always be time for taking the easy path, and there'll be times when you want to do that or to settle for maybe a short-term fix. But for the best results, it'll always be a product of unbelievably hard work. That's why I always sign something. They say, oh, could you put something on? I say, work hard. To a young person, work hard. Because you have to work hard. It's so competitive. Life is so competitive. You have to work hard. It's never going to come easy. You have to work hard. A lot of great athletes, they say, the harder it work. I remember Gary Player, a great golfer. He was somewhat smaller than other great athletes. And he said, the harder I work, the luckier I get. That was the first time I heard it. I've heard that expression a lot, but the first time was from the great Gary Player, one of the top 3 golfers of all time. And he said, the harder I work, the luckier I get. It's a great expression. Fourth is you go into life, and right here at the Coast Guard, you want to keep your eyes in the boat. You want to have your eyes in the boat. You know what that expression means better than anybody. Do not be distracted by what's outside. You just want to look back and you want to just see what's happening, but keep your eyes in the boat, a Coast Guard expression. Focus on the task before you and move forward. Always, always move forward, never move back. Remember, what actually matters and pursuit of success it really has to be relentless. You've got to be relentless. And many of you are relentless. You wouldn't be here if you weren't, because there are 10 people for every seat that I'm looking at, 10 people, and I think even more than that wanted that seat, and you made it. So finally, you have to be strong. You have to be really strong, and I don't mean just with muscle strength. I mean with mental strength, and you have to be brave. In your profession, you have a level of bravery that has to supersede a normal person's bravery. But that's why you're here.
This is pretty interesting stuff. Trump speaking to Coast Guard graduates at the commencement in New London, Connecticut. It's the second time, by the way, he has gone and addressed a Coast Guard commencement ceremony, and he's giving them great practical advice. But if you know Trump, you know how he believes these things. You're hearing the core of everything that he believes, and the advice that he would give young people: work hard, keep your nose to the grindstone, go big. I thought that was interesting. Go big. Small ideas end up with small results. He does think big. I will give him that. He thinks big, and I think it has paid off for him. I mean, how many lawsuits did the guy have against him? And one by one, it took a lot of time and a lot of effort and a lot of money. Each one of those things that were leveled against him, dismissed, thrown out, proven to be what they were. So, I have a lot of admiration for that guy, because he does not give up. He does not give up. Very quickly, in a few minutes, we're going to be joined by Chad Benson, and we'll find out what's on tap for his show. But I wanted to spend a few minutes, if I could, talking about the state of the economy. Clearly, let me just run the numbers here on gasoline. I know gasoline is expensive. It's right now in Middle Tennessee, the average price for a gallon of gas is $4.21. The highest it has ever been was $4.68 back in 22 during the aftermath of COVID. $4.68, and we're now at $4.21. The national average for a gallon of gas right now is $4.55. 1 year ago, a gallon of gas in Tennessee would cost you $2.75 a gallon. I know it hits you hard, and I know it's really hard, and I have such great sympathy for people who are going through this right now, because it takes you more to get to work. If you have a business, it costs you more to get your goods and services to market, and so these are things that are rippling through the economy. But there are signs that the economy is doing better than you might imagine, and I'm going to bring you two really good examples of that. Target says that it is beating its Wall Street estimates. Now, why is that important? Because Target is a bellwether stock. It is a bellwether company. And if Target is doing well, it means that people are spending money on a retail level, and that means that the economy is percolating, perhaps in a way that we've not seen in other ways. Listen to some of this. Retailer said it saw broad-based strength across its categories, with traffic across stores and digital platforms growing 4.4% compared with the first fiscal quarter of last year. Digital sales up 8.9%. Wow. Non-merchandise sales spiked nearly 25%. That's all great stuff, and it suggests when you have a bellwether company like this that is doing well, it suggests that people are spending money because they have some confidence about what's going to happen in the economy going forward. Here's another one. Lowe's beats Wall Street expectations, challenging against a challenging housing backdrop. Houses are not selling. but people are actually spending money down at Lowe's. And again, that's an indication that the economy is perhaps doing better than others believe. Revenue jumped about 10% at Lowe's compared to the previous year. Comparable sales increased 0.6% for the quarter, 15.5% growth in online sales. So here's two companies, bellwether companies, that are doing really, really well. And I think that shows that the economy is poised to really explode if we can get rid of the one thing that's causing heartburn right now, and that is the high price of oil, gas, and diesel. If we can get that licked, I think the economy is just juiced to go big. We've got to get to that point. We've got to get to that point. It is 47 minutes now past the hour. Take a commercial break, and when we come back, we'll check in with Chad Benson, see what's on tap for his program. You're listening to Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Brian Wilson in for Chris Hand.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy with Super Talk 99.7 WTN, and this morning we are out and about at my house, my brand new house that I've been talking about on the radio, with Nate from USS. What's up, brother? How are you?
I'm excellent. How about you?
I'm doing well.
Good.
We invited Nate out. Now, obviously, when you're a new homeowner, especially when you buy a house that's got a few years on it, you don't know what you're dealing with in terms of foundation. And I know that Nate knows a lot more about what I don't see and what I don't know about than I do. So bring the experts out and get them to check out your house. Hey guys, Matt Murphy again with Nate with USS, and Nate has just wrapped up kind of a look at the house. And Nate, what'd you find?
Well, your house is in pretty good shape for the age of it. I had to look pretty hard to find.
Okay.
Your house being on a slope like it is here, I think we could do a lot of good by trying to terminate your downspouts a little further from the house there.
Okay.
Roof water is the killer of foundations, and so if we can just get it to a positive grade to drain away from your house, I think that's real cheap insurance.
You want to kind of get it out and downhill.
That's right. Yeah.
That's
So
the idea.
make sure that it doesn't come right back down towards the foundation walls and causing issues, settlement or leakage.
Now, if folks are watching this video and they are like, we need to get Nate out to the house to do a look. I mean, it took, I watched you do it. It's, 30, 45 minutes, something like that.
Yeah.
To do a comprehensive kind of an examination around the house. And they just give you a call and schedule?
Yeah, absolutely. You can call our main phone number, or you can call reach USSTN.com and schedule right through the website there. Our girls in the call center will get back to you just about immediately, as long as it's during business hours. So
this just makes a lot of sense, folks, for you guys to do an examination of your house like we've done, to check it out. I'm going to get those gutters done with Nate and his team at USS, and then we'll do a video and let you know how those look at the end of all of this. So thank you, guys.
Hey, that'd be great.
We appreciate you, brother.
Matt, we appreciate you.
It is 51 minutes past the hour, 11 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. We are just minutes away from the big Chad Benson extravaganza that happens every day here at noon. And joining us now from the studio is Chad Benson. Hey, Chadley.
What's up?
I have, you're the only other, I know two Chads in my life.
We're pretty awesome as Chads.
One is you, and the other is Chad Pergram, who works at Fox News covering Capitol Hill.
Yeah.
And I've got to tell you, I'm very proud of this because I actually hired Chad Pergram to become the Capitol Hill producer, and he's now the senior correspondent covering the beat. And there's nobody who knows that beat better than Chad. But my nickname him was Chadley.
Chadley, that's right. Chadwick or Chadley?
No, Chadley. Hey, Chadley, how you doing?
I like that.
Yeah, but
I like
anyway.
that. How you doing, man?
I'm doing really good. How about yourself? What's on tap for you today?
You know what, man? I'm having a good time. We're going to talk. We got One Hit Wonder Wednesday. We're all going to try to see, because we got this belt, Brian, that Dr. Mitchell gave us, and it's a wrestling belt, and it's a real belt, too. It tips poor Ken over when he wears it. I mean, it's a real belt. So we're going to do One Hit Wonder Wednesday. Which one of us has the best one hit wonder? We'll talk a little bit about Iran. The Super Bowl, obviously, you know, the big to-do today. Everybody's announcing it. Nance is there. Governor's there. Everybody's playing, happy with each other. We'll talk a little bit about that.
I'm trying to think what my favorite one-hit wonder is.
It's hard, right?
Well, I always like that 8675309.
Oh, that's right. Jenny, who can I turn to?
Boy, talk about a song with a great hook.
Yes.
That's a great hook.
And remember, as a kid, people would call that number all the time, just to see.
So in some towns, you would call the number and that song would play.
Yes. That was great. I mean, that was awesome. And kids nowadays don't know, because they just go to whatever your name is for that person and push a button. But back in the day, we had to memorize numbers.
Oh, yeah. So, I can still remember my home telephone number in Odessa, Texas, when I was a kid, because you had to memorize. But, somebody asked me, what's your wife's phone number? I don't know it.
I don't know my wife's either. I know the last three numbers. I don't know her phone number. It's really weird.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing. I can tell my best friend's phone number when I was a kid, my phone number, I know her address. I, to this day, still struggle with my address. I'm like, what is my address again?
And one other one-hit wonder that I really love, and the reason I love it is it comes from my hometown. It was recorded there, and here's an oldie. I mean, this goes way back. You ready?
Yeah.
In the year 2525, Zager and Evans.
Zager and Evans.
Do you remember that song? In the year 2525. That was actually recorded in my hometown of Odessa, Texas.
No, I don't remember that. You know who would remember that? Bell. We call him the Beltanica of music, because he knows. Do you know, what is it called again?
In the year 2525 by Zager and Evans.
No. If Beltanica's never heard it, it doesn't exist.
Oh, come on. You're kidding me. You've never heard that song.
So, you know what? I've probably heard it. Here's the thing. How many of these things and Brian, you probably recognize this. You'll hear a song, you're not quite sure the artist, or you'll know the artist, and you'll be like, I didn't know they sang that song. And so I bet you if I heard the song, I would recognize it. But Zager and Evans, I've never even heard of them.
Yep. No, it was, again, because they were one-hit wonders.
Yes.
They had one hit, and then that was it.
Some one-hit wonders live forever, though, in our hearts.
Yeah.
So
what's your favorite?
My favorite one hit, God, that's it. Probably either Dexy's Midnight Runners, Come On, Aileen, or Modern English, I'll Stop the World and Melt With You. Because those were big as a time as a kid when I was growing up. And it's funny because Modern English one, I'll Stop the World and Melt With You, that was in the midst of the Cold War in 1983. And the song was about, essentially, that the bombs had all launched and we're just going to relax together and watch the world melt. Now it's a Taco Bell commercial.
It's amazing.
It is amazing.
It is amazing.
What'd you talk about today?
Well, I talked a lot about Iran because I'm at the point now where I think you've been for a while. I think we have got to wrap that thing up.
Yes.
Because, the Iranians, for them, it seems to me it's in their interest to drag it out because the closer we get to midterm elections, they think the better deal they're going to get to wrap this thing up. So they're pushing and pushing and pushing it out as far as they possibly can. But I don't get the impression that Trump's going to play that game much longer. So I understand why they're doing it, but so I talked about that a little bit. I also feel like we're sort of in a better place with the economy than perhaps a lot of people do. Certainly gas price is a problem, but I talked about that today, about how there are signs out there that perhaps the economy is ready to go big if we can just get the price of gasoline down in a short order. And I think that is achievable, but we got to get on it.
It's an interesting time because I sit here and I ask, what is the end game? We're not going to get regime change. That isn't going to happen. We've probably strengthened the regime to a certain extent. And at what point does Trump say, because Bibi, apparently he and Bibi had a very long conversation, according to...
One hears it was a pretty intense conversation.
And Bibi wants him to... They're not going to agree with anything. You need to go attack. And I think Trump's looking and going, I only have bad options now. And the best bad option may be to say, we've had enough. We're calling a full-time pause, and we're just going to sit here and maybe call people back, stop the blockade, and see what happens from there. But no, I don't think at this moment in time there is a great option, because we're not going to put tens of thousands of people on the ground. I don't think he wants to risk that. No. And we're not going to bomb them to submission. That's obvious.
Yeah, I don't know. He said he was within an hour of doing it the other day. So I don't know. Maybe he is giving him one more shot. But the bottom line is it's to their advantage to push this thing out as far as they go, because they know that we're looking at one thing in this country, and that's the midterm elections, and that we are concerned about that, and they think they can get a better deal the closer we get to the midterm elections. I don't know, one way or the other. I do think it's time to wrap that up. I'm with you now. I know you've been there for a while, but I think I'm slowly getting to the point where we've got to get that thing wrapped up so that we can get things in order for the midterms.
Yeah, the Republicans have a chance to maybe save some of this stuff. But if you see gas get to the point where it's $5 throughout the summer and beyond, it's going to be a hard time. Even if you redistrict in certain areas, you may put yourself in a position where where it was kind of reddish with a little bit of purple, say, I'm done with the Republicans, and they've got to figure something out sooner rather than later. And Trump can say, I'm not on the ballot, or I don't really care about some of this stuff. You better, because if you lose the House, that's one thing. You lose in the House and the Senate, be prepared for 2 years of being a lame duck and investigation after investigation.
Here's what I'll close that with, this one thought, and that is this, that the best chance we have for a good outcome in the midterm elections is if Americans feel as if the economy is banging on all 8 cylinders, and they can perceive it, and they see the impact from it.
Yeah.
In times like that, the midterm elections have not been disastrous. They've been bad, but not as bad as they could be for the party in power. So we've got to get focused on the economy, and time is running out. Tick-tock, tick-tock. Well, listen, I look forward to listening to your show. Have a great one. We'll see you soon. Thank you so much for listening to the Chris Hand Show. Chris Hand be back here tomorrow. Time for the news with Ken Weaver. It's straight up noon.